I get it, you're scrolling through a sea of pre-built rigs, trying to figure out whether you should drop a few $100 on a box that promises ready to game and still feel a little uneasy about the risk of buying the wrong thing. I was in the same spot last month when a friend of mine asked if I could help him decide before he splurged on a new gaming PC. He'd been dreaming about higher frame rates on his favorite titles, but the idea of assembling a custom build felt overwhelming, and the budget-friendly pre-builts he'd seen seemed to cut corners. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So I dug into the specs, read a handful of reviews, and put the Skytech Aqua gaming PC through a few real-world scenarios to see if it lives up to the hype. First off, the Aqua is built around AMD's Ryzen 7 7800X3D, a processor that's been praised for its clever 3D V-cache architecture that really shines in gaming workloads. In practice, that translates to a noticeable bump in FPS when you're pushing titles like Elden Ring or Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p high settings. If you've ever been frustrated by a CPU bottleneck that drags the frame count down while the GPU still has plenty of headroom, this chip tends to smooth that out. Pair that with an NVIDIA RTX 5060T 16GB GDDR5 card, and you get a sweet spot for 1440p gaming without breaking the bank. The 16GB of VRAM gives you room for texture-heavy games and the occasional foray into ray-traced visuals, though you won't be maxing out the most demanding ray-traced settings at 4K. What really caught my attention was the 32GB of DDR5 RAM clocked at 5600 MHz. Most gamers are fine with 16GB, but the extra capacity becomes useful if you like to stream while you play, keep a browser full of tabs open, or run background recording software. The 1TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD also feels like a big win. Loading times drop to a few seconds, and the Gen 4 bandwidth ensures that large game installations won't sit on a bottleneck drive. I tested a fresh install of Starfield and the initial load screen cleared in under 10 seconds, which is a nice jump from older SATA-based systems. The cooling solution is an AIO liquid cooler with a 360mm radiator, and that's where the Aqua name earns its stripes. In a typical 2-hour gaming session, the CPU temps hovered around the low 70s C, and the pump noise stayed well below the level that would distract you from in-game audio cues. That said, the radiator is mounted at the front of the case, so you'll notice a soft hum that's audible if you're sitting very close to the desk. It's not obnoxious, but if you're a light sleeper or plan to put the PC in a bedroom, you might want to consider the placement carefully. Power-wise, the 850W80 Plus Gold PSU gives you a comfortable headroom for future upgrades, at least on paper. The 7800X3D and RTX 5060T together draw well under 400W under load, so you're not pushing the PSU to its limits. The Gold certification also means the unit runs efficiently, keeping heat and electricity bills in check. However, the case design is somewhat proprietary. Skytech uses a custom front panel that can make swapping out the GPU or adding extra storage a bit more fiddly than a standard ATX chassis. If you're the type who likes to tinker and swap components every few months, you'll need to be prepared for a slightly longer disassembly process. Now, who actually benefits from this rig? If you're a gamer who wants solid performance out of the box, doesn't want to spend evenings watching YouTube tutorials on cable management, and appreciates the peace of mind that comes with a pre-tested, factory-assembled system, the Aqua is a strong candidate. It's especially attractive for people moving into a new apartment or dorm where building a custom rig feels like a logistical nightmare. The Wi-Fi AC module means you can hook up to a decent wireless network without buying a separate dongle, and the inclusion of Windows 11 means you won't have to wrestle with a fresh OS install or bloatware removal. Skytech even advertises a no bloatware setup, which aligns with the clean experience many first-time buyers want. On the flip side, there are clear situations where you might want to look elsewhere. If you're chasing the absolute top-tier performance for 4K Ultra settings, the RTX 5060T will start to show its limits, and you'd probably be better off saving up for a higher-end GPU. Enthusiasts who relish the process of hand-picking each component, negotiating the best price on individual parts, or installing a custom water cooling loop will find the pre-built approach restrictive. The case's proprietary layout, while aesthetically pleasing with its 360 ARGB lighting, makes future upgrades less straightforward. And finally, if you're on a tight budget, there are cheaper pre-built options that sacrifice the DDR5 memory or the high-capacity SSD, but you'll be paying for those cuts in performance over the long run. Let's talk about real-world usage beyond raw benchmarks. I set the Aqua up in a modest